Hi Scott, thanks for doing this. First of all, how did your move to Newcastle United come about?
At the time I was at Leeds United, I'd signed for them in the summer, just gone from Blackburn. Wasn't really playing, and I think at the time they needed to buy a right back. They had no money, and I think Newcastle, who had also shown interest in me in the summer, came back for me. And I think the deal worked out well that they could, and they brought in David Kerslake, and with the money that they made on sort of selling me to Newcastle.
So how did it come about as far as meeting people? Did you meet Kevin and Terry?
Yeah, so I met Kevin at Scott's Corner in the hotel. Had a good meeting with him. Obviously, I wasn't far away, so all the press at the time were about the team and the style of football, and I think they won the first 12 games, so there was lots of talk, especially the style of play, and I'd seen some bits and bobs on TV about them, because obviously I was in the Premier League at the time, but I'd seen some stuff, and it was Kevin Keane who won it, so, for players of my generation, he was a bit of a god, wasn't he? So he was a player I'd always respected and really liked. Again, a fellow Yorkshireman as well, so it was something that once it came up, I wanted to speak to him, and then when I met him, really enjoyed his company, really enjoyed what he spoke about in terms of football and how he wanted to play and what he wanted to do, how ambitious he was. I think that was one thing that came across, that it wasn't just a case of getting out of the Championship, which they were doing really well at the time because we're coming up to March, middle of March, but it was what he wanted to do after that. So yeah, as he always was, very enthusiastic and very inspiring.
Tell us about where you used to train. It was Maiden Castle, wasn't it?
Yeah. I thought the facilities were good, to be fair. In terms of the pitches and that were great. There was nowhere to eat and stuff like that, which we had at Leeds, but I think we had a cup of soup or something like that. But in terms of the facilities, if you look at the nutrition and stuff now, we used to get a cup of soup. So, but if you look at, the football pitches were great, because a lot of them were hockey pitches, but more than that, the training was great as well. So it didn't really bother me, and the lads were great. So it was always a place you look forward to going every day.
You had to train in front of the supporters. Did you find that a bit unnerving?
I think I found it a bit strange at first, but then after a while you got used to it, to be fair. And then, it became quite interesting, because obviously you got a bit of atmosphere even for your training sessions. And the five-a-sides on a Friday were always quite intense anyway, so with a bit of a crowd there, it actually raised it up a little bit. So no, it didn't really bother me. I suppose I've been used to playing in front of crowds. It's something you get used to, really.
Which players did you get on with when you got to the club? Who made you welcome?
I knew John Beresford anyway from Sheffield Boys days. John's a year younger than me, so I knew John. And I knew Fazaki, the coach, because I played with him at Blackburn. But probably Venners and Brace were the two older ones who probably I got to know the best and probably got closest to. I suppose age-wise, I was about 27 at the time. Wasn't too far away from them anyway. But probably those two were a couple of lads who I sort of connected with quite quickly.
So you played the last 13 games of the promotion season in 92, 93. Was it difficult to fit straight into that team, or did you find it easy?
No, it was tough. The hardest bit at the start was the training. The training was really tough in terms of just the intensity of it. I found that, coming from Leeds, where it was a little bit more organised, a lot of set pieces, whereas Newcastle was just football, high intensity, getting the ball back quick. And I must admit, for the first probably 4 games, I didn't feel like I really performed well at all, and I struggled. But to be fair, Kevin stuck by me and kept me in the team. And then eventually I did start to settle in and start to have some good games and get some assists and some goals.
There's no better way than endearing yourself to Newcastle fans than getting a winning goal in the derby against Sunderland. What can you remember about that game?
Yeah, well, it probably shouldn't have been on, to be fair. I think if it hadn't been a TV game, it probably would have been cancelled because the pitch was poor with those massive puddles everywhere. But yeah, I think, like you said, it was a game I was really looking forward to. obviously hear a lot about it, and the lads were talking about it. They played in the first one, obviously at Roker Park, which had gone well. So yeah, and we, we wanted to get promotion done as quick as we could, and we realised if we keep winning games, then that's going to happen. So yeah, something I was really looking forward to, and it's one of them situations where I sort of said I was going to take the free kick. I took corners anyway, so I said no, I'll take it, and they moved out of the way and put it sent the goalkeeper wrong way, obviously give him the eyes, and put it over the wall to the area he was stood on, and was obviously very happy, and like you said, made myself very popular very quickly.
What was a typical Kevin Keegan, team talk like? Was he tactics? Was he just motivator? What was he like?
I think he was a manager that put a lot of trust in his players. He knew what I thought he was a great chemist, if that makes sense. He knew what he wanted for each position and what players did, or what he wanted them to do, and how he interacted them with their strengths. I thought he was really clever at. Also knew when it was time to move players on and bring new players in, which I thought he did really well. But yeah, it was massively a motivator. I remember some days he'd come in with a team sheet and throw it on the floor and say, if you can't beat these, we might as well pack in. Do you know what I mean? So he gave us a lot of belief, a lot of confidence, a lot of trust, and I think that's all you can really want as a player, is that somebody that really believes in you. And he would tell you before the game, give you some little pep talk or tell you how well you're doing and stuff like that. But he was, a great motivator. And as I said at the first bit, really inspiring character.
A lot of people, question what was Terry Mack's role. Was he like the Peter Taylor to Clough? Was he just a good wingman, or was he more than that?
Yeah, I think they were brilliant together. I think they really trusted each other and they had each other's backs, I think, which is really important. Terry knew the game, do you know what I mean? Terry being a great player, again, a player I'd really admired. And again, he would have words with you, give you a little bit of advice, a little pick up now and again. He was good. I also thought he was really good at that when you were struggling a little bit. So I thought it was they were a great pair together, to be honest, and complement each other. And then, like with Derek Fazaki, who did all the training, again, Derek was a massive part of the coaching team, and I thought that one of Kevin's biggest strengths was he knew what he was good at and knew what he wasn't good at, and got other people to do what he couldn't do.
I think everybody remembers the 7-1 win against Leicester at the end of the season, the end of that promotion season, 6-0 up at half time, and Andy Cole on fire that day. But I mean, what can you remember from the actual day itself, and the celebrations at the end?
Yeah, even before the game, I think there was a band on as well and everything. So it was a great day. We'd done what we wanted to do. It was really a day to sort of let the reins off and go and enjoy ourselves, really, and didn't really talk too much about the game, just off you go. And I think we started pretty well, and then with that confidence we had, because we won the league, I think once you get to that stage and you've won the league and you can relax, you almost feel unstoppable and unbeatable, to be fair. And I think that's certainly how we felt. I think that although Leicester, got promotion that year or the year after, it was something that, we just felt very confident, and the reins were off and we went for it.
Yeah, it was fantastic. What's your memories of Pavel Cernacek as well? He infamously got handed a T-shirt by Lee Clark that day with Pavel as a Geordie on.
Yeah, Pavel was just a lovely, lovely guy. Do you know what I mean? Really sweet, really caring. Do you know what I mean? Really cared about all the lads and was really integral part of the squad. Unbelievable athlete. As a specimen, he was an absolute machine. He was ripped. He was so flexible, good with his feet. He was probably the modern goalkeeper many years ago in terms of being good with his feet. But he's a great character and somebody that always had a smile on his face, and somebody that I always enjoyed being in his company. Have
you got a favourite game that you played in at your time at Newcastle?
That's a good one. I think probably obviously the Sunderland one, probably the Liverpool one for 3-0. I think I made 2 goals for Coley, and I think I was involved in the first one, but not the assist. But that was a game we were 3-0 up at half time that day, and against a team like Liverpool. So there was lots of, because we went to Anfield and won at Liverpool that year as well. So there was just so many good games because we played good football as well. I really enjoyed the style of play. So do you know what I mean? It was like I said, you wanted to get there for training, you wanted to play in the games, you wanted to be part of it.
Yeah, and I mean that was how the entertainers were born, Scott.
Yeah, I think Kevin wanted to play. Always talked about it being an entertainment business and wanted to play in a certain style. And he recruited players who could play football and wanted to do that, who wanted to get on the ball, dominate it, be creative. He had people who could, obviously stop things, but he also had, even the defenders could play. Think about the full-backs we had. The centre-backs could play when Venice went back to centre-back. He was a good footballer who could play midfield, then went into midfield. So, everybody could deal with the ball, basics, we all that basic. And then there was some who had a little bit more in terms of creation. Some were goal scorers, and then, if you think about your front two in terms of Peter Beasley and and Andy Cole, and you've got two, them two together were unbelievable. There were some games where you weren't playing as well and you found it tough, but you always expected them to pop up with a goal.
Ask you about your favourite game. Have you got a favourite goal?
I think probably the Sunderland one, to be fair. Yeah, Sunderland one has been my favourite one because it was so important as well. I think probably that one.
Did it surprise you going into the Premier League? The team almost had no fear. And I mean, you finished third in your first season back, and that meant you got UEFA Cup football. Did it surprise you? Guess looking around the dressing room, there was a few Geordie youngsters there who knew what it was all about. Lee Clark, Stevie Watson, Steve Howie, of course. But did it surprise you how well you took to the Premier League?
I thought we'd be okay, if I'm honest. Obviously, I'd been at Leeds the season before, and so I played with them. But I thought we'd be okay. I couldn't sit here now and say I thought we'd finish in the top three. So I think we surprised ourselves. I think probably a bit by how well we played as well. So not only the results, which sometimes you can get when you get promotion, but I think the style of play was something that I thought we would find tougher to sort of implement in the Premier League, but we probably actually found it easier.
Have you got any funny stories from your time at the club?
Well, funny stories? I don't know if I can repeat any of the funny stories.
Who was the joker at the club?
It was great because you had the young Geordies who were mad. You had Clarkey and Watto and Rob Elliott. It was just daft. I know Steve's a Mackham, but they were just daft and eager to learn and wanted to sort of listen to all the oldest lads and listen to the advice. We used to say to them all the time, it's not always as good as this, you've been spoiled. And they used to say, and then I think once they left Newcastle or once the sort of regimes changed, I think they started to realise what we meant. And they did some great experienced players, like Killer and Tommy Wright, Liam, and then obviously Venice and Paul Bracewell. So it was a good balance. And the squad just got on really well. Do you know what I mean? We got on really well. We used to go out together all the time, especially international weekends, because at that time, a lot of us weren't internationals because we just got promotion, so weren't really in the spotlight. So on a Friday, we used to go out all that together in the afternoon, have a good meal and have a good night. So, yeah, it was a very close-knit group, to be fair.
You got a bad cartilage in the early months of 94, 95. Yeah. That sidelined you for about 9 months, I think it was. By the time you came back, you had a rival for your left-wing position. What was your first impression when you saw him, David Ginola?
I came back in the summer. I was fit for the pre-season, played a few games. I probably just spent the first few weeks just clapping him, to be fair, because he was outstanding, wasn't he? So the first few months, he was just great to watch, and he was doing things that I'd not seen before, you know what I mean? So, and the team again, were exciting to watch again. We'd had a disappointing season. Obviously, I got injured, but I missed most of that, but we were doing well at the time. But yeah, he was just showing to watch, to be fair.
I think your last game in a black and white shirt was a 1-1 draw against Spurs at White Hart Lane in October in 95. Did you know that was going to be your last game? Did you?
No, not really. I think that, I'm a bit old school in terms of, and I think a lot of the English lads are like this, is you just want to play. And I recognised I wasn't going to play. And because I'd been out injured for 9 months, I was just desperate to play football again. And I was playing some reserve games at Gateshead that wasn't inspiring. So I just felt I wanted to play. And, if I look back and say, did I make the right decision? I'm not sure. But at the moment, at the time, everything for me was always about playing and watching the games. Obviously, I was watching with a lot of admiration. But, there's nothing better than playing on Saturday afternoon.
Was it an honest conversation with Kevin? Did you go to Kevin? Did he come to you?
Yeah, no, he came to me and said, listen, Bolton made an offer. I don't want you to go. I'll give you a new contract, or we can also loan you out for a month to get some games. But I don't want you to go. And I just said, well, I just want to play. I said, I've been out too long and I'm not going to play. And we were like 12 points clear at the time. He was like, yeah, but, you might win a league medal. And I was like, well, forgive me. No.
So yeah, we had a cut off there. Just quickly, was it an honest conversation with Kev? Did you go to him or did he come to you? How did the departure come about?
Yeah, no, he came to me and said that Bolton had made an offer. He said, but I don't want you to go, and I'll give you a new contract to stay. I want you around it, and then because we were 12 points clear at the time, going for the league. But and he said, we can even loan you out for a month to get some games and then you can come back. But I was quite stubborn, to be fair. And I just wanted to play, if I'm honest. I'd been out for, like I said, 9 months. And watching games wasn't, as good as the team was. And I loved being around the lads and watching them. It wasn't the same as playing on a Saturday at 3 o'clock.
You mentioned Newcastle were 12 points ahead. It would be remiss of me not to ask you the question, why do you think Newcastle didn't win the league that year?
I still don't know, to be fair. I still can't believe they didn't win it. They were playing such good football, dominating. Maybe all I can think of is maybe that the group hadn't been there before. And maybe the pressure at the end where Man United had done it before. I just felt that, I drove up to watch the Man United game. I came up and I went to the game at Leeds as well. So drove and watched that. So... yeah, I think it was more possibly that just they didn't have the experience just to deal with it. But and the other side is Man United towards the end, did exceptionally well.
1-0 Cantona, that was the story. And Peter Schmeichel in goal. The last two questions. Best player you played with in your time at Newcastle?
I think probably Peter Beardsley, I think.
Yeah,
I think Peter was... Peter came when he was about 33, 34. And he was still unbelievable then, do you know what I mean? He was no way slowing down. He was fit, every day trained hard, did everything right, 2 great feet. And some of his tricks he did, I still don't know how he did that. Some of his tricks were so simple, but he so terrified people just to fall over. He was exceptional.
And the fans, how important are the fans at Newcastle United, at a club like Newcastle, for you as a player when you stepped onto the pitch at St James's?
Yeah, I think that there's nothing better being in a football club as a player when there's a connection between the club and the fans. And I think the momentum, the energy that you get from that, I think can be unstoppable. And I think that the connection that the players and the club at that time, I think Sir John was a great part of that as well, and Kevin, obviously, his relationship. I think it's just like I say, it became almost unstoppable. I remember standing in the tunnel sometimes and looking at the opposition thinking, we've won already. Do you know what I mean? They were terrified of the atmosphere, the noise. Do you know what I mean? And they're the best fans I've played for. And, I certainly see that connection again now between the fans and the players again. So it's great to see.
Scott Sellars, thanks very much.
Cheers.